Sacrificing TikTok isn't gonna save anyone from the deeper problems of social media influence and algorithmic power, but it is gonna cause endless debate online, as we're seeing now. But is the TikTok ban a good thing or a bad thing? Better yet, what even is this whole TikTok ban that's going viral? Why are a bunch of 20-year-olds losing their minds over an app? Well, other than complete social media dependency, no point in lying to ourselves about it, and now we have the US House of Representatives passing a landmark bill that could see the Gen Z dependent TikTok banned in America. Essentially, the Biden administration has presented the Chinese company ByteDance with a 6-month ultimatum. Sell your popular video sharing app TikTok or be banned nationwide. While the bill passed overwhelmingly in a bipartisan vote, rest assured addicts, it still needs to be cleared by Senate and be signed by the president to become an official law. If the bill does manage to secure approval in Senate, however, President Joe Biden has already promised to sign it as soon as it lands on his desk, which could prompt a diplomatic spat with China. Why? Because if it passed as written, this would apply to TikTok's parent company, as mentioned, the China-based ByteDance, for 2 reasons. The app collects data on its 170 million American users, and in theory, it could be used to push Chinese propaganda. Both of these things are deemed threats. In order to not be deemed a threat, aka keep TikTok, ByteDance would actually have to seek approval from Chinese officials to complete a forced divestiture, which Beijing has vowed to oppose. They were already skating on thin ice from the get-go by not divulging. Chinese companies are subject to national security laws requiring them to share data with the USA government on request, but TikTok has never done so, and instead they try to reassure regulators that it's taken steps to ensure the data of the 170 million users has been walled off from ByteDance employees in China. TikTok chief executive Xu Zichu even said that the company was committed to keeping its data secure and the platform free from outside manipulation. However, data being unofficially shared between TikTok in the US and ByteDance in China. Therefore, yes, the US government is right. The app is deemed a threat according to their definitions on data sharing. Some high-profile cases of data being a threat include one incident where ByteDance employees in China accessed a journalist's data to track down their sources. Naturally, these types of data breaches from China have stoked concern, and thus the bill that is now in motion to pressure China into selling TikTok to American, European, or anyone else but them financiers, or to simply lose North American app usage. So, that is now being explained and begs the question, who would buy TikTok? TikTok has not yet indicated if it will sell, still busy trying to beg the US to not go through with the law, but Sarah Krebs, the director of Cornell University's Tech Policy Institute, said she's skeptical ByteDance would sell, stating that China's not in a great place economically, but this is something they've done that is very visibly successful around the world, so I don't see why they would sell it off. But if the bill passed and Biden was to use its authorities to compel ByteDance to sell TikTok, the company would have 180 days to find a buyer. That would be enormously frantic, said Kate Ruan, the director of Free Expression Project at the Center for Democracy and Technology, a Washington-based tech policy think tank that opposes this bill. To quote her, there aren't really that many entities around the world with the kind of money that it would take to be able to purchase something as expensive as TikTok likely is, Ruan stated. And in a deal that's that big, it would probably need to undergo, we would likely want it to undergo, antitrust review in the United States. And an antitrust merger review, especially in big complicated deals, can take a long time, likely longer than 6 months. So, if the sale didn't happen, it could set off an unprecedented situation in American history. A popular smartphone app used by half the country's population would suddenly become banned. Under the language of the bill, app stores would be forbidden from hosting any banned app. That would mostly apply to Google, which has Play Store, Android, and of course Apple, which has the App Store. But a lot of apps have been banned before, and people find ways around it, so wouldn't there be potential cases of circumvasion? If banned, many TikTok users would likely at first try to find workarounds, said Cooper Quinton, the senior staff technologist at Electronic Frontier Foundation, a nonprofit that promotes civil liberties in relations to technology. To quote him, "I think you'll see a lot of kids learning how to circumvent the restrictions on their phones. They're certainly not going to stop people from using TikTok by banning it. Yeah, you'll probably cut down on the number of people using it, but that just makes it more exciting," he said. They're going to create a whole new generation of hackers, as seen by TikTok users in India, for instance, which banned TikTok in 2020 company, but often posts videos showing ways to circumvent the ban. Though it isn't clear that they'll always work. It also isn't fully clear how the App Store ban would even work itself. Both Google and Apple require users to have accounts with their services to use the App Store, and those accounts have several potential ways of identifying the user's location. Both companies allow the users to just change the country they're in, and it's possible to make a second account while visiting another country to appear to be a resident there, download its apps, then go back to the US with all the apps still functioning. It's also possible to load apps directly onto a phone without even using the store, though it's significantly harder to do, especially on iPhones more than Androids, and it may lead to more TikTok obsessives trying to load the program directly onto their phone and accidentally downloading malicious hacker versions. Other experts said that there could be workarounds to the ban. They may not be sustainable just due to the popularity of the app. There really wouldn't be a way to circumvent the ban. The market's too big, said Ellie Rostam, a political scientist and lecturer at Johns Hopkins. We're talking about a third of the United States population that uses TikTok after all. That being said, where is TikTok banned already? A growing list of nations and government bodies are taking action against the app, which has affected attention spans, IQs, reading skills, classrooms everywhere, everything you need to have more than 2 feet and a heartbeat carrying you around. Across North America, Europe, and Asia, several countries implemented some level of restriction on the app, largely over privacy and cybersecurity concerns connected to its parent company ByteDance. International government bodies, including the European Commission and NATO, have actually banned staff from using TikTok on their corporate phones. In India, Nepal, Afghanistan, and Somalia, they straight up annexed the app for their entire populations as America's planning, for reasons such as it promoting terror or having malicious content, as well as China's involvement in its running/data mining. Would a TikTok ban work? It's not clear how the US would institute the ban as stated. The White House's best chance to do that would to likely be coming from the bill introduced by the bipartisan group of senators last week that has strong White House support. It would give the Secretary of Commerce a broader power to ban foreign technology in cases in which the US believed it posed national security threat. How that authority would be wielded is up to debate, however, as how they would decide and investigate the official for the role would be crucial. After all, it can't be some 80-year-old white dude who's gonna hold his phone 2 feet from his face like this. It needs to be someone young and knowledgeable about technology, but who can also be tactical. They'd also need to deep dive into a background check to ensure that they can't use webware to start funneling funds or mess with government intel. Naturally, a spokesperson for Commerce Department declined to discuss details on how the agency is considering that power with every news outlet so far. The easiest mechanism for the government to enforce a ban would be to prohibit the app stores from making TikTok available for download, said Daryl M. West, a senior fellow at Brookings Institute Center for Technology Innovation. The app would just lose functionality over time, and other apps like Instagram and Snapchat would once again rise up and take over, seeing as they have similar video segment features as TikTok does. If there's a ban, it would definitely be no more updates and software enhancements, and over time, it'd just become harder to use those apps, West said. The use of TikTok could also potentially just be criminalized, resulting in fines, but that's a little extreme. That being said, has the US ever banned an app? Easy question and answer. No, never a blanket ban like they're proposing now, but TikTok and many other apps have been subject to a variety of smaller restrictions. Many public universities have restricted access to the social media app from school-owned devices and campus Wi-Fi networks. The Committee on Foreign Investment in the United States regularly reviews foreign-owned companies to determine if their business and transactions pose a threat to national security. And in 2019, they forced a different Chinese company to divest ownership of a dating app, Grindr. If they did it for hookups, who knows? Maybe folks will sell out for some funny little video clips. Then following, could you use a VPN to access TikTok? Okay, so if you're wondering something like this, be sure when you're Googling what VPNs to use, also type in "do I need help" into that Google search bar. You shouldn't be so addicted to an app that its potential non-existence sends you to your knees. We used to hunt every day, people. We used to get up and hunt for boars and try not to die. Trust me, you can live without an app. But if you're so insane that you're considering a VPN just to watch a damn TikTok, there is the possibility that they could work and provide access to the app. A VPN is a service that allows users to redirect their internet connection through other networks just to get around certain types of internet censorship. There are virtual networks that allow people to get access to Western applications, like people who want to watch American Netflix or watch Canadian Disney+. Americans could use the same thing to access TikTok as a loophole to the ban. That being said, the government could just target VPN access to make the ban more effective. Officials could ban VPN use or compel VPN companies to blacklist sites such as TikTok. to limit flow of traffic. That leads, of course, into the next after effect of the TikTok ban, which is loss of monetization for influencer aspiring users. Not everyone's meant to be an influencer. I'll be damned if social media hasn't made everyone think that they're so special and main character-esque that their existence is so worthy of being put online and seen that everyone should want to. A lot of people's value and self-image is now all tied up in social media, and now with the influencer craze, people who have the charisma of a black hole and are meant to have a career and just a regular job. After all, it requires next to no work except glamorizing your life in a way that allows you the escapism to pretend that's what it actually is when it's not. A US government ban of TikTok could push users obsessed with their influencer status to figure out alternative ways to access the app as prior discussed, which is something that's become more common in other parts of the world such as India. That being said, if/when TikTok's banned, the monetization would stop instantaneously. Even if you're living in America and are banned, if your account or videos are still afloat and people in Europe are watching your TikToks, you won't make any profit from them. That's what's got a lot of Americans up in arms. Small businesses and annoying wannabes alike are protesting potential loss of income from this ban, which they could find on other apps rising up anyways, because like the phoenix from the ashes, other video-specific platforms are just gonna hit back hard with TikTok. Instagram Reels, Snapchat clips, YouTube Shorts, these are gonna become the new haven for influencers and quirky content makers. These domains are already easily accessible, linked to most people's TikToks, and function so similarly there's not really even much of a reason to be too upset about losing TikTok. Hell, YouTube actually pays more, so maybe it'll circle back to 2012-2014 when we're all neck deep in Jenna Marbles. The funds will come from somewhere else for these influencers losing income. But given that this is all about data, you gotta ask, would banning TikTok actually secure my data? It would not. Yeah. Well, I can't do that. I have to give some context. To quote, "The ban does not address the key problem that TikTok poses, which is transfer of data," said Ellie Rostam, the aforementioned political scientist and lecturer at Johns Hopkins. There will be another company that's owned by a Chinese company that can just transfer the data. Other experts were in agreement with Ellie, and their input is about 90% of what those arguing not to ban TikTok are using as their official basis, such as James Lewis's testimony that TikTok is just the tip of the iceberg. Many products have Chinese software. James was one of many to remind the public that, beyond data privacy concerns with Chinese-owned companies, the US has no overarching federal data privacy laws, and the data brokers freely buy and sell users' data with very little oversight. And TikTok's access to user information isn't unique. The only difference here in all of this TikTok stuff is America wants to keep America's data to itself, doesn't want to have China profiting off of any of it. So it's just a big demeasuring contest on the table. That's the end of another BTS video. I sure hope you enjoyed. Take time to like, subscribe, share, and of course comment down below what you think about losing TikTok. Who cares, or you do?